It's always a delight knowing you're there. The program is Agriculture in Focus. As always, we have a bumper pack for you. On our interview segment, we will be looking at budgeting. What has the budget for 2024 got in store for farmers? That will form the thrust of our interview segment in the course of today's episode. As always, we'll talk to Nigerians about what they think about the current budget and its sustainability as far as food production is concerned. After the interview segment, as always, we will bring you some news that you can use. After that, Timmy Simpson will come with Common Sense Agriculture. The show will come to a close with Trending Fields. All you need to do is sit back because I assure you that the next 25 minutes will be worth your while.
Government should give us farmers grants, not loans. And while giving the grants, remember women first. Then the youth can follow. Because if a woman who has no land has money to get to pay to farm, it will go a long way.
The budget located for agriculture is very poor. Without agriculture, how we go to survive as a Nigerian? So, as federal government is supposed to budget a lot of money on agriculture, so that we'll be able to help the farmers, the people who produce what we eat. Because we have a lot of farmers who are ready to work, who are ready to farm, but when they don't have enough tools and the mechanism and whatever they need to make their work very easy and steadfast, what can they do? They need enough money. The federal government should promote more on mechanizing farming. And I urge President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, even if he's not a farmer, he should know a lot about farming and know how impactful it is in our society today.
And it's always a delight have you join us on the interview segment of Agriculture in Focus, where advancing food security and agribusiness remains our mainstay. Sit back as I introduce you to our guest in person of Mr. Murtala, who happens to be with the Civil Society Legislative Advocacy Center, CISLAC. Murtala, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having
As it were, welcome to today's episode of the program. Let's go back to the Maputo Declaration of 2003, where, of course, we know that African heads of states came together and marshaled out a plan, hoping that African states can devote 10% of their yearly budgets to agriculture. But from all indications, that has not worked out. Are there any reasons to that effect?
The Maputo Declaration, which Nigeria signed on to in Mozambique, was that each African country had to budget 10% for their agriculture. And unfortunately, most countries in Africa have not attained this commitment. And the commitment was that, if agriculture is to be given the priority that it deserves in the continent, then countries of the continent are supposed to make at least 10% allocation of their national budget to agriculture. Nigeria, as a signatory, we have never gone above 5% over the years. In fact, recently we have had a spiral decline in terms of our allocation. In the 2024 budget, we barely have 1.3%. A bit higher than the 2023 budget, which is around 1.05%.
Right.
So countries of the in the continent need to devote more resources, because most of the African countries are made up of rural communities, and in the rural communities we have a large chunk of people devoting their energy and their time into agriculture. But a situation where government is not providing enabling environment for these farmers to be able to thrive in agricultural space, then output will not yield much result.
Talking about creating an enabling environment, devoid of legislation, can that hold?
Any policy of government that is not does not have legislative backing will not be sustainable. And Nigerian legislators, I will give them some level of kudos because over the years they've come up with some, good policy, a legislative framework that can support the agricultural intervention of the executive arm of government. I'll give an example. In 2022, the National Agricultural Development Fund was actually passed by both chambers of the National Assembly, and it was assented to by President Muhammadu Buhari. But unfortunately, that agency has not been given the required resources for it to function optimally to boost our agricultural, mechanization, agenda. And in the 2024 budget, I think there is some remarkable progress in that regard, because about 28% of the agricultural budget was actually budgeted for the National Agricultural Development Fund. Although the problem with that is that majority of that fund was actually for the overhead. In terms of our budgeting process, I think the legislator need to do more in scrutinizing whatever the executive brings for them in the appropriation processes, because majority of allocations made for agricultural intervention in the country are for overhead. And the overhead has little or no impact on the rural farmers. When we are talking about what are the needs of the rural farmer, we are looking at the extension services, we are looking at the credit, agricultural credit scheme, we are looking at the input for farmers, the seedlings, the tractors that those farmers can use to till the soil. So the National Assembly going forward need to scrutinize critically what are those allocations that are made that will impact directly on the rural farmers.
No matter how strong legislations you have on ground, devoid of overhead, do you think we'll get to the promised land?
As I said, in terms of the legislative framework, I think government has done remarkably well. I mean, the National Assembly have done remarkably well, because as we speak, there is a standing committee on agricultural production, and there's also another standing committee on college institutions on agriculture. So these are wonderful intervention by the National Assembly to ensure that the required attention is given to agricultural sector in the country. But those things that directly affect the farmers is what is missing, right? As I said earlier, the input, because it's like garbage in, garbage out thing. Whatever you inputted into the process of production is what you're going to get.
But it appears in all this you're saying, implementation seems to be the setback.
Surely.
We are not following through.
That's the problem. No matter how powerful or fantastic a piece of legislation is, if they're not being implemented to the latter, and implementation is done by the executive.
Well,
the only problem I will give to the legislator in this regard is that they are not always very forthcoming in their oversight mandates.
That was what necessitated my question.
So, National Assembly must be able to provide the necessary oversight function to ensure that the lacunas in the implementation of the budget by the executive are blocked, so that those resources earmarked for agricultural intervention gets to the actual farmer.
Now, looking at implementation, looking at monitoring, looking at evaluation, where is the place of civil society?
Yes, and that is what we as civil society organization have been doing over the years. I'll give an example now. We are going to have a retreat for the relevant committees of the National Assembly in Lagos, where we intend to take them through the technicalities of food system. We're going to take them through the technicality of food fortification. And as a civil society organization, we provide some level of capacity building for National Assembly members so that they understand the intricacies of these issues and they are able to provide this oversight mandate they are supposed to play on the executive.
All right. I'll just ask that you hold your thoughts there. We'll take a short break. The program will continue in a jiffy. The program is Agriculture in Focus.
The world is talking about regenerative agriculture.
Akilishi alone can be a great source of revenue.
Glad to know you're there. You're most welcome back. I want to find out from you. You made mention of the fact that in your earlier remarks that the 2024 budget, it's nothing compared to expectations if we are to go by global standards. What can you say are the key indicators that arrive or eventually give rise to this budget?
Okay, the kind of budget processes we undergo in Nigeria is quite challenging even for the legislators, because it's expected that the executive provide the layout and the structure that the budget will make up, then presented to the National Assembly. So the people at the ministry, they are oftentimes, allocate those funds that take care of themselves rather than having at the back of their mind the intricacies of the challenges that the rural farmers face and the needs that can be met in the budget. And I'm emphasizing on this overhead because, of course, the resources are scarce. No doubt about it. The resources are scarce. But how well do we utilize those little resources available is the problem. In the past government, we have talked about severally on the AMCO borrower scheme of the CBN. That program is supposed to, expand our rice production in the country. But unfortunately, those at the corridor of power hijacked it.
Can technology in any way change the tide?
The problem with technology is that it's garbage in, garbage out. Those are the helms of affair. They will interfere with it until there's a strong political will from the president that whatever resources are located, to these farmers, it gets to them. Then we cannot make any much progress because it's someone that's controlling technology. Minister of Agriculture needs to, be more hands-on on whatever resources that are made available for the farmers. That is the only way we can make much progress. And future resources that will be deployed to, farmers, as you rightly said, technology should be more involved. But those who control those technology must be made to account to ensure that there is little or no interference in those technology workings.
The current government, no doubt, is doing a lot because agri-mechanization is one of the areas that they want to venture into. If you were to give a word or two of advice to the current administration, what would your advice be?
The federal government is supposed to provide, policy framework that will guide the implementation at that national level. The Ministry of Agriculture launched the dry season farming for, rice and wheat. So, but I have received a lot of complaints from farmers that even though they applied, they got text message that they have been shortlisted. When they get to the warehouse where those resources are supposed to be distributed to them, they said their name were no longer on the list. I have received several complaints as a civil society person, and that is the problem of monitoring and evaluation. What is government doing to ensure that this money is spending huge sums of money, of taxpayers' money, are getting to the farmers, not where the farm input, the mechanized implements that were supposed to be distributed to the farmers have been diverted and sold to the open market. So governments need to do a lot more of monitoring and evaluation so that this farm input gets to the actual farmers, not the retailers of this item that they sell in the open market for farmers to go and buy at exorbitant rates. Even the fertilizer, how much is fertilizer selling today in the market? I am aware that farmers are asked to some of them are asked to pay a sum of 180,000 naira to be able to get this farm input at a 50% subsidized rate. So if you paid 180, what that means is that they will give you input about 360,000 naira for those input. But unfortunately, despite that these farmers have paid this money, a lot of them are not getting this input. And the time is going. By February, March, we're talking about rain. So the purpose of the dry season farming will be defeated. Minister of Agri need to sit up. Minister of Agri need to do more engagement with the stakeholders. Majority of the agri farmers, they have their associations, right? If really government needs to, empower them, they need to work with those associations rather than, making it, open.
And sadly, this has always been the problem. How can we take that away from the hands of the politicians?
And that is why government need to work with the associations. Every crops that crops, animal, whatsoever, they have associations. Government need to be working in silos, thinking that they can wave the magic wand and get things done. It doesn't work that way. These associations, they are more closer to their people, to their members. Going forward, National Assembly should be using their constituency slots to provide farm inputs to farmers, working with the Ministry of Agri, both at the national and the state level. Then, by so doing, if each constituent are providing, tractors, are providing fertilizers, are providing seedlings to their constituents, then we can have this, input spread more to the people, rather than relying only on the executive arm of government.
I believe that those who should listen are listening. Once more, thanks for your time. And I'll now hand you over to Abigail Stowe for some news that you can use.
Thank you and welcome to the new segment of Agriculture in Focus. I am Abigail Stowe. The National Youth Service Corps is to partner with the China-funded Nigerian Agricultural Technology Demonstration Center in Ushafa, Abuja for exposure and training of corps members in agro-aligned ventures. Minister of Agriculture and Food Security, Senator Abubakar Kyari, has urged federal colleges of agriculture to do more of practicals to enable beneficiaries of their training have practical and working knowledge of agriculture in order to boost food production and ensure food security in the country. The Ogun State government has pledged continuous collaboration with Heifer International so as to boost food sufficiency and elevate poverty in the state. Commissioner for Agriculture and Food Security in the state, Mr. Bolu Owotomo, has said. The Duncan Group of Companies has commissioned a multi-billion naira fertilizer blending firm in Plateau State to boost productivity of the agrarian population of the state and the country at large. The company is a public-private partnership between the Plateau State government and Oil and Chemical International Limited, which is a subsidiary of the Duncan Group. And now to the global scene. The East African Community States have embarked on a collective program to market the agricultural sector in the region so as to attract investment and technology in the sector, thereby transforming the region's economy and those of the individual countries. Co-chair and board member of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Bill Gates, has joined a meeting of the world's leading agricultural organization hosted by the Consortium of International Agricultural Research Center in Rome to discuss the importance of coordination and cooperation in achieving the UN Sustainable Development Goal on Hunger, the SDG 2. This has been the news on the new segment of Agriculture in Focus. Thank you for staying with us, and there's lots more coming your way. I am Abigail Stone.
Abigail Stowe, as always, thanks so much for that great effort. I will now hand you over to Timmy Simpson for Common Sense Agriculture.
Welcome to Common Sense Agriculture, our low-hanging insights into farming and agribusiness. My name is Timmy Simpson. A digital transformation is happening and disrupting many major sectors of the economy. This notion of digital transformation includes, among others, the conception of innovative and digital business models that affect several traditional industries, such as transportation, banking, agriculture, and others. By adopting the digital economy, agricultural production effectively promotes information exchange along the various value chains. With new infrastructures such as cloud computing and artificial intelligence, the digital economy has built an internet system for agricultural production, providing efficient and accurate technical support for agricultural green development. In the planting process, the digital economy can accurately analyze the ecological conditions, environmental capacity, and resource status of each region, and then determine the optimal amount of fertilizer and pesticide to achieve a dynamic balance between agricultural production and protecting the ecological environment. In the production process, big data dynamic matching can timely and accurately update user demand information, eliminate information asymmetry to a certain extent, and help farmers to speed up the production of agricultural products with local resources based on consumer demand. In the sales process, The combined online and offline sales model does not only expand the product coverage, but also promptly addresses various problems in the product sales, improves transaction efficiency and profitability, and improves the efficiency of the agricultural industry in all aspects. The common sense here is that agricultural true prosperity will be found in the embrace of the digital economy. Until we come your way again, be guided by this low-hanging insight in farming and agribusiness. My name is Timmy Simpson.
Timmy Simpson, thank you so much for your words of wisdom. It's about time I hand you over to Balogun Anthony for Trending Fields.
You're welcome to Trending Fields here on Agriculture in Focus. Now, in this segment, we will be highlighting agricultural topics trending all across the internet. My name is Balogun Anthony, and thank you for joining us. Now, for our first trend for today, the federal government is gearing up to revolutionize agriculture with its fourth industrial revolution technology application in agriculture. Now, 10 lucky startups are about to ride the tech wave with grants up to a cool 10 million naira each. Now, the brain behind this is none other than the Minister of Communications, Innovation and Digital Economy, Dr. Bosun Tijani. Now, these startups are not just in for the cash, they're on a mission to transform how we see farming. Now, it's not just about growing veggies, it's about supporting President Bola Tinubu's grand plan to cultivate a whopping 500,000 hectares of land. Now, we're talking about startup projects like precision farm management, smart pond, automated IoT-based irrigation systems, and more. Drones, AI, and blockchain are not just tech jargons, they are the secret sauce these startups are using to cook up a farming revolution. Now, this isn't just a grant, it's a ticket to the future of farming. Now, for our next trend for today, in a groundbreaking meetup between United States Secretary of State Antony Blinken and African Development Bank, Blinken praised the AFDB group for their Herculean efforts in helping Africa not only feed itself, but also potentially become the global pantry. Now, the US is stepping onto the African agricultural dance floor with a $9.5 million grant for the Technologies for African Agricultural Transformative Initiative, TAT. Now, this initiative is part of the Feed the Future Global Hunger Initiative, and it's all about boosting food production, introducing climate-smart technologies, and expanding extension services. So far, TAT has already touched the lives of 13 million African farmers in 40 countries. And with this grant, they're about to sprinkle that agricultural magic even further. Now, TAT aims to double the productivity of staple crops, livestock, and fisheries by making proven technologies available to more than 40 million agricultural producers by 2025. Isn't that exciting? Now, for our last trend for today, in India and Bangladesh, a traditional practice of floating farm is being revived thanks to the South Asian Forum for Environment. Now, they are rocking the boat with climate-resilient float farming using bamboo rafts upgraded for resilience. Now, the idea is 100 years old, but it's getting new attention across the globe as a way of tackling both food security and the challenges of climate change. Vegetables like medicinal plants, spinach, and chilies are among the items cultivated on the floating platforms. That's all for today here on Trending Fields on Agriculture in Focus. If you'd like to be part of the program, send us your comments, suggestions, and your insights. You can follow us on all social media platforms. The handle is @patagro_media. My name is Balogun Anthony. Thank you for joining us and have a beautiful night.
Balogun Anthony, thank you so much for Trending Fields. And this is where we'll be drawing the curtain on today's episode of the program. It's been Agriculture in Focus, where advancing food security and agribusiness remains our mainstay. This program is open to sponsorship. My name is Alpha Jackden. Thanks for watching.